Okay, we are in the third day of chapter 4. And in your notes, you should be on this page. Why are you not focusing? Come on. There we go. Okay, so we're on this page in your notes. This is always in class a bell ringer. So go to this page in your notes. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to do as much as you can, or just enough. Like, answer a few questions here, answer some of these questions in this category, answer some here. But if you do the whole thing, you'll be very prepared. Okay. So when you come back, I will give you the answer sheet. Pause now. Okay, these are the answers to your bell ringer. Normally I have students come around and check each other. Here is the top. Here's the bottom. You can pause the video if you need to and check your work. If you had a hard time with this, I recommend looking at this, and if you can follow it, great. But if you're having difficulty, put some circles or stars by the problems that you really want to talk about or go over the next day. Okay. All right. So now in your notes, today we're not learning anything new. We're just talking about word problems, because as you get into higher mathematics or using math in real life, you're not going to necessarily be handed a equation and asked to solve. You're going to have a situation where from there you'd create an equation based off the situation, and then you would solve. Okay, so here's a situation here. It says the hypotenuse of a right triangle is 6 times one of its legs. The other leg is 3 root 35 units. Find the length of the hypotenuse. Well, they told you that you have a right triangle, so draw one. It says the right triangle hypotenuse is 6 times one of its legs. So 6 times one of its legs. I don't know what the one leg is. We'll call it x. The other leg is 3 root 35. Okay, legs are just the side of a right triangle. Doesn't matter which one, because they're both across from a 45-degree angle. So it says find the length of the hypotenuse. Well, there was a key word here, and it was right triangle. In geometry and algebra 1, you learn that if you have a right triangle, that you can take one of the legs and square it, and add it to one of the other legs and square it, and it will equal the hypotenuse squared. So let's just replace it. We'll call A 3 root 35 squared. B we'll call x squared. And C, the whole quantity is squared. Be careful with that. So this is going to be 9 times 35 plus 1x squared equals 36x squared. Well, 9 times 35, be careful how you put this in the calculator. Okay, if you don't get, well, 9 times 5 is 45, carry the 4. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 4 is 3, 1. Okay, so if you don't get 315, you did something incorrect. Okay, so make sure you can do that on the calculator on your own. Subtract 1x from both sides, and you're going to get 35x squared. We're going to divide 35 both sides. Okay, and take your calculator. 315 divided by 35 is 9, and x is 3. Now, a lot of people would say, okay, I'm done. Well, make sure you go back and answer the original question. Find the length of the hypotenuse. Oh, so you have to substitute 3 back in. So the length is 18 units. So not only did you have to find x, but you had to substitute it back into one of the sides. Okay, so we solve for a quadratic. This one, it says the area of a rectangle is 96 feet squared. The length is 1.5 times the width. So length is 1.5 times the width. What is the width? Oh, they don't tell us. So width we'll just call W. What are the dimensions of a rectangle? Let's talk about area here, and area is length times width. And I know area is 96, and I know length is 1.5 W, and I know width is W. So when I simplify, this is what I get. So to get W by itself, I'm going to divide by 1.5. I'm going to get 64 equals W squared, and then I take the square root on both sides to just get the principal square root, because I don't want a negative width, but they want to know the dimensions of the rectangle. So if I substitute 8 in for width, 8 times 1.5 is 12. So it is a 8 by 12, or 8 foot by 12 foot rectangle. This one, it says the product of two consecutive integers is 20. Find the integers. And usually in class, I have a ton of kids raising their hand, and they're like, it's 4 and 5. And I'm like, you're wrong. And they go, huh? You're partially right. The product of two consecutive integers is 20. Let's say I didn't know the first. I'd call that x. Well, the second one is consecutive, so it's going to be one more than x. So when I multiply, I'm going to get x squared plus x equals 20. So I'm going to get x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. When I factor, I'm going to get x plus 5 and x minus 4. So I will get x could have been negative 5 and x could have been 4. But that's not my answer, because 5 times 4 and one's negative would be a negative 20. Well, if x is negative 5, x plus 1 would be negative 4. And if x was 4, x plus 1 would have been 5. So my answers would have been 5 and 4, and negative 5 and negative 4. Okay? All right, example 4. A humanitarian group provides assistance to people who need help in obtaining resources. The group has decided to send a shipment of food by helicopter to some families living in remote areas. The helicopter, which is 80 feet above the designated drop, releases a box containing food. The height of the box then goes to the ground and can be modeled by this equation. Okay, where t is time in seconds and h is height. After how many seconds will the box land on the ground? Well, the height would be 0. We have to get t by itself because they want to know the time, how many seconds. So we subtract 85 from both sides. Then we divide by negative 16. And I get 85 over 16 equals t squared. Then if I take the square root of both sides, t equals, and I put in the calculator, square root, parentheses, 85 divided by 16, close parentheses. You get about 2.3 seconds. You wouldn't use the negative because we're talking about time. Okay. Now your homework is going to be a worksheet. Okay, I will attach it because it's not in this packet. And I will attach, it's in all the homework already, all worked out. It's just a word problem worksheet. And so it's just a lot of repeats of what you've already learned, but it's more practice with word problems, okay? And then that's it.